Welcome to the Diamond Spotlight interview. I am Barbara Beckley, the founder of the Diamond Factor LLC, where the mission is to empower women to understand their PPD, their purpose, passion, and drive. And this platform is to make sure to increase their visibility and shine like a diamond to the world. Today, we are spotlighting another wonderful lady, and I call all the women, as everybody knows, Queen Diamonds. So we have another Queen Diamond today. And let me just introduce her real quick, and we're going to get right into get to know her and see what she's all about. Because I'm just reading some things, and I was like, wow, she is amazing. So I'm going to say Fernanda Lazzaro writes now I'm going to probably say, I hope I say this wrong, Tillsonbugger
Tillsonbugger Adventures.
Tillsonbugger Adventures series. Yeah. And this is interesting, we're going to get into this. She enjoys educating children about bugs and their importance in the environment. Welcome, Lady Queen Diamond. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks, Barbara. How are you?
Good. Sorry about that, because I know I want to get it right because it's about bugs. And when I first heard it, I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting, because I'm not really a bug fan. But then after I read your bio and what you do, I was like, you know what? I want to really get to know this lady. This is interesting. This is awesome. And then for the children too. So, because I know you're an author. So as an author, especially for children's books, because this is quite good for them. What inspired you to become this great storyteller for the young generation, especially concerning bugs?
You know, it's funny because I was actually trying to address adults. And I thought, to get to adults, I'm going to go through the children. So these stories are written in such a way they're a bit advanced for that age range. So it's more something that an adult or a teacher would read to the child. And so it gives the adult the opportunity to actually learn in the process. Mm-hmm. So it was sort of an indirect way of getting to them, because how it happened was I was a backyard beekeeper, which just means I was a hobby beekeeper. So I had bees. Honeybees in the backyard, and they swarmed one day, which means thousands of them just left my hive and just swarmed to the nearest tree, to the neighbor. And the neighbor freaked out and said, oh, I'm going to burn this tree, I'm going to kill them. And I thought, wow, they really don't understand the importance of bees. And I thought, how do I get to them? How do I get the message without lecturing and dictating? So I've always wanted to write, and I just thought, wow, okay, you know what? This is my chance. It sort of came to me. So, and that's how the first story, The Swarm That Swarmed, came about.
Yeah. Wow. I was just thinking, because when you said bees, because I had a really bad problem when I was a young girl with the bees, because it was funny because, well, this is kind of funny too, in a sense. So, I was out there with all of the children at school, and there was bees around. So, usually you think bees, like you said, I'm thinking, okay, they sting you, it's going to hurt, that kind of stuff, like bite you. So a bee was running around my neck, and it kind of landed. So one of my other friends, she was like, Barbara, there's a bee. And I was like, where? And she said, right there, there's a bee. And she was pointing, and I was like, where? And it was under my neck. So when I went like this, yeah. And I said, I wish you would have said.
It stung you.
Yes. Because when I went down, because it was right under my neck, and I went down like that, and it stung me. And I wanted to say to her so bad, why didn't you tell me it was right there before?
Well, actually, that probably wasn't a bee. It was probably a wasp. Ooh. Because bees don't bother being around humans. They just want to go straight to the flower. Wasps are the ones they'll be around your food. They kind of hover around you like they're pests. I'm sure they have a purpose in life. I don't know what their purpose is yet, because I haven't done my research on them. But no, wow. That wasn't definitely a bee. Yeah, bees wouldn't bother. They only sting when they're in danger, if they're trying to protect the hive, trying to protect the queen. So it wouldn't be hovering around you at all. Bees don't do that. It's not in their nature to do that.
So all this time it was a wasp, and I thought it was a bee. Well, we all thought it was. Well, we were children. We didn't know better. We just like, okay, that's a bee, and called it a day. So that's interesting to know that now that I know that, because I'm always, ever since then, I've been kind of, terrified with the bees, because after that whole incident. So now that I know the difference, I'm not going to be, it's awareness. It's an awareness.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's how you'll notice the difference. I mean, they look different as well, because bees have a little bit of fuzz on them as well, and wasps, they're usually bare.
Yeah.
But wasps are the ones that you'll find around the picnic table, around the garbage can, around you if you have perfume.
They like
so
to
that's
hover
how
around.
Yeah.
Well, let's take now that we're talking about more distinctly about the bees compared to others, a deep dive into the book series concerning the bugs, and why it's especially important to keep balance in the environment. Because I know you were talking a little bit about that when I was reading your bio.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as bees, I mean, they give life. So they pollinate our vegetables and fruits and flowers. So their pollination is just a process of, I don't know the technical term, but it's just, they're passing like the fertilization from one flower to the next. So the fruit can grow. So that's their job. And there are other pollinators like butterflies, hummingbirds, even flies and other things can indirectly pollinate. But I mean, just bugs in general. I know the next book that I wrote, The Case of the Missing Mustache, those are about centipedes, which you wouldn't think, but they're like the human vacuum. They the alive vacuum, not the human vacuum, but so they actually, when you find them in your home, I mean, they'll hide. It doesn't matter how clean you keep your place. It's not an indication of being dirty or anything. They find places to hide. They're usually in a more humid environment, but they clean all the little bugs. They'll eat those little pests and spiders and mites and things like that aren't so great, So that's what they do. That's their job. And like every little creature has their little job to do. And I think once you break that balance, or once you try to extinguish them, or it kind of breaks the balance, right? But I think that's anything in life. Everything kind of needs to be balanced,
That's really interesting that you say that, because now that you explain that, I can see that, if like was the caterpillar, right? If they all was extinct, then they were kind of like taking care of the other bugs and stuff that might be more pesty. And now that's gone. So now you're going to have more problems with the other bugs that they could have helped you with. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, let's take the bigger animals. Like I know with us, we have a coyote, there's coyotes around, and there's this one summer when there were tons of squirrels in the neighborhood. And I think it's just because the coyote count was down. So it's almost like, okay, well, you know what? I know it's awful to think of, coyotes killing these, squirrels and ducks and this and that. I don't like the idea of. I saw a coyote the other day with a duck in its mouth, so I'm like, oh my god, that poor thing. I know. I know. It broke my heart, especially because I had a little pet duck as a child. So.
Yeah, I know. You were like, no.
But it's almost like it does keep the balance if we just let nature do what it needs to do. If we try not to interfere so much, we should just trust that nature knows what it's doing.
Yeah. And I think, again, like you said, though, being aware, just like, with me, just like it's my story with, I didn't understand, that it was a wasp instead of a bee. So in my mind, and this happened when I was 9 years old. So in my mind, all these years, I was even telling other children, or, my godchildren and stuff that was growing up around me, get away from the bee. They're they're not, they're get away from them. Don't go there. And all this time, I was giving them a bad rap.
Well, the funny thing is now you're going to notice. So you'll notice around the flowers, those are bees, like the bumblebees and honeybees. They even have there's so many different species of bees, but you'll notice now, those that are around the flowers, they're not looking at you. Like even if you're walking amongst them, unless they feel threatened, they're just going to do their business, which is really interesting if you watch them. They're just interesting little creatures. They have quite a discipline. Yeah.
Yeah. Just they remind me of the ants too, because the ants, they have their whole, it's just remarkable what they do, how they walk in store and all that stuff. And you would never know that if you didn't really pay attention to certain things. So yeah, I think we all have to have an open mind. We're so, we just hear bugs and then we just all just like, but when you think about it, it's very important in life to have them around to do what they do. Yeah, to do what they do.
And it doesn't mean I'm not afraid, because I have a spider. He's a cute one, but I'm terrified of spiders. So I know in the book series, I'm writing book number 3, but there's always a spider in the book, although I'm not giving them any like feature at all, because that would mean I would have to research them. And the last thing I want is to see like spiders constantly on my screen, because when you research something, Google thinks, oh, you're interested, and then I'll use, because I had centipedes popping up on my computer screen like for months. But no, so spiders are not getting their airtime at all, but they do make a little appearance, because I do understand they are important. So there's going to be like the first book, you understand they're actually not insects. They're called arachnids. So they're not technically an insect, and even centipede isn't an insect. It's part of the shrimp family, believe it or not. So it's like, wow. So once you start researching, you realize, wow, they're not like categorized in this one lump. Oh, they're insects, creepy little things. They actually, they're here for a reason. So let them do their thing. But you can still run away. I still get my vacuum. I'm not saying I don't. I won't stomp on them like I used to. So
it's not as bad as it used to be, right?
Yeah.
They still gonna be a little pesty sometimes. So especially, going back to the ants, because I know for some reason in the summertime, in my back door, because I live in a condo, they like to gather around by the door and come in, and it's like, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm trying not to bother you, but now you're kind of getting into my space.
Yeah, exactly. There has to be that balance too, right? And I do like, it's hard. Those are things that are so difficult to get rid of, and again, it's hard to say, and to keep them all, oh, they're all wonderful. No, they're pests. Like, they are in the way, and especially if you just drop a little crumb, you have like these. But I guess it's just a matter of us figuring out, okay, how can we balance our lives? Maybe we don't throw a bunch of crumbs, where they're close to the house, because then they do get it and they become pests and start,
Yeah, sometimes we have to do our part, like you said, because I know unfortunately, I live by some neighbors where they kind of get a little bit trashy sometimes when they're out there, and they might throw something, and then next thing you know, I had to pick it up and stuff, and you see all the, because the bug, like they said, they're looking for food. Yeah, exactly. So if you put it out there, they're gonna take it. So we have to do our part too. But then again, I was just thinking, not just pests for bugs, but sometimes with humans, sometimes some friends and stuff can be a pest, and you have to say, okay, boundaries. It works both ways. So now I was going to ask you, being an author, we're dealing with what in the world right now is called the new norm, which I hate that word, with the pandemic going on, and then, everything that's going on and people staying in the house, and we got to wear masks and everything right now. So concerning the children's books, relevant, how is that being relevant dealing with the challenges that are going on now, especially for children being at home, homeschool? How does your books really, kind of relevant for them right now?
Well, the thing is, before this happened, so here it was mandatory to stay home around March. Yeah. So I don't know about in your area, but with us, it was like March, and I was actually scheduled for a couple of readings this summer in some local libraries, some close cities close by to Toronto. And so it was, we had that great promotion for the book, but also for bugs. And then we had this whole thing planned where we were going to make little bee houses. So, with not straws, but little bamboo sticks, or just sticks around around the yard. And so we had that plan. So it definitely affected my promotion of the book. And even just the kids themselves. I mean, just letting them know, hey, you can have fun. You don't have to still, sit in front of the computer the entire time. You can still go out and have fun and still enjoy. You may have to keep your distance, but still enjoy yourself. So who knows if this, scared them off of being dirty, God, can't touch mud, can't do this, whereas that's the joy of being a child, is getting in there and just, that's what the kids in this story in the series, they get out there and they get into mischief. They're not safe all the time. And it's like, that's what builds character, is just getting out there and just experimenting. And who knows what this would have,
Yeah. And see, I know, and what you're doing with your book and everything, it is so important for the children. And like you said, adults too, we're both learning. And with this, even though this pandemic going on, people are nervous. They have to stay at home. They, like you said, they might not want to go outside, or, so I think that, like you just said, just still keep certain boundaries, but don't lose it all where they're stunting, like you said, their personality, their creativity. And I like what you said about you were going to make the little beehive.
Yeah. Bee houses. Yeah. So which they could, just with some stuff out of the recycling bin, we were going to make just from a plastic bottle. So whatever you would have thrown out. So hopefully people aren't using that many plastic bottles anymore. But if they are, you can actually take those and just cut them in half. And we were going to just stuff, I was going to get some bamboo sticks from Chinatown, because they sell them in big, nice big long sticks. And I was going to grab a few of those, bring them to the workshop, and we were going to build little bee houses. So we would have put the bee, the bamboo sticks inside, so solitary bees could have made their home, because solitary bees are on their own. They don't have large colonies like the honeybee. Even the bumblebee has a pretty big colony, but not like the honeybee is thousands. Like in that box, there are thousands of bees in there, tens of thousands. Yeah. Unlike a solitary bee would just have its own home. So if you notice, like in your brick, like if you have a house in the brick, if you have a hole and you see bees coming, bees will make their little.
Yeah, I see that sometimes.
So we were just going to make these little ones that we can just place around the yard, and they can just make their home. And but that unfortunately didn't happen. So that's okay.
Yeah. Sometimes, you have to reinvent and do something different. That's one thing that I think we're all learning right now, is to be reinventing ourselves, being more creative. And, you never know, maybe you can do something on a Zoom or something and record it and send it to the children, or, show them how to do it. And then they can do it at home with their parents. Or, that'd be nice. I would hate for them to lose out on it, because that sounds real interesting and real fun at the same time. So that would be
and I guess it's up to the school. It's up to the libraries too, because those are like government sort of. Funded. So it's up to them if they wanted to do a workshop that way. I'd be more than happy to take it digitally, this way. But if not, I can wait till next summer. That's okay. It'll give me time to write book number 3. So.
See, that's another thing with, unfortunately, something happens, but in another sense, on a positive note, you can finish up your other books that you're doing. That's wonderful. Yeah. So now I was going to ask you, in the past, I read in your bio online, you wrote human interest stories and worked as a reporter for a local TV station and producer. Can you share with the audience some tips on how you went by changing your other passion as to author?
Well, I've always wanted to write. So that's just something that, like, I have a bunch of half-written manuscripts. So I've never completed one. I've always like, this idea is great. Okay, let me try this one. So I've gone from one to the other. So I've finally finished manuscripts with this series. But as far as, I wrote for my university paper. So I wrote human interest stories. Just some interesting people around the neighborhood and around the school. So I'd write, stories about them. And then from there, I got involved with a local television station, and they would do community television. And I was a reporter for them for many, many years. And I loved it. And I actually ended up studying broadcast journalism. So I returned to school. So I had my BA, or at least I was 1 credit short, but I ended up getting my BA at the same time. And I got a post in broadcast journalism. And I started working actually for a TV station writing news. And that was actually depressing. So It was so depressing because so working at the community station, you have a lot of say. You go to the producer and say, hey, I got this really cool story. I just met this person at the grocery store. They're so interesting. Can I do a story? Okay, is it local? Yeah, okay, do it. So you had this freedom to write some really interesting, fun stories. So when I got a job for this news station after I graduated, I was writing stories and I would get news feeds. So, they'd come on those cassettes and I would sit with the editor and say, okay, cut this, cut this, cut this. And I would write to the story. But I was writing international news and it was during the time of all those beheadings. So I was watching like raw footage and it actually depressed me I'd actually cry driving to work. It was so sad. And one day I remember it was a Korean man and the camera people, so I saw the footage, the camera people just barged into the home of this family whose son was just beheaded. And I thought, that's rude. And I told my producer, I said, I don't want to air that. And what he said to me, he said, is CNN airing that? And I said, yeah. He said, well, then we're airing it. And I realized, wow, what a dirty industry. Yeah. And it's that same morning I walked in and one of the other news writers was there and she said, like it was nothing, I wonder if they beheaded him today. Like it was nothing. And I said, you know what? I can't be part of this. I'm sorry. I actually quit that day. Wow. Yeah. I gave him my 2 weeks notice. I said, I can't do this. I can't be that hard, Yeah. I'm crying every night. I'm crying coming to work. This is really bad. So luckily I ended up going to this party. Sorry, this is very long-winded. I ended up going to this party and I met this girl I used to actually volunteer with or work with at the community center, at the community station. And she started her own production company. So I ended up working with her for many years and I produced my own TV fitness show. So lifestyle. Just about fitness and being about how to build the body. There's a lot of shows about how to lose weight, but there aren't many shows on just how to build strength and how to be strong. Yeah. And then that went on for a couple of years, and then I stayed with her for a few years, just helping produce her other shows, and that was much better for my personality. And then I just had the creative bug, and then the sort of there you go. Excuse the pun, but yes.
The fun. I had to catch that. I was like, wow, it fell right into it. Wow, you are amazing. I mean, you went through all that, and you know what? When one door closes, especially if you close the door too, another one opens up, and you never know where you're going to go. So I'm glad because, with your personality and how awesome you are, I know that was crushing you every day seeing that, because it would have crushed me too. I couldn't have been able to deal with all that. But and that's why I always tell people, and maybe I'm wrong, people might question me right now, by saying, I know with the news and everything, they want to put out there what's going to get the ratings. And and what's going to be, they're going to show these people are trying to help people, or they're going to be like, oh, look at, somebody shot whatever, and put that up there first. It makes the news, and it's kind of sad.
I know, and that's why I don't really watch the news. I know what really goes on behind the scenes. And you know what? They're just trying to get ratings. So I'll kind of like watch it. Okay, yeah, this is happening. Okay, great. And then I just move on. I try not to, because I really know what's going on back there. And it just really turned me off to the industry altogether. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you took that next step, because like I said, your books are helping people. I mean, it helped me alone, just like I said, by reading what you do, and then just today learning about the bugs and how important they are in the environment and everything, and this helping the children and adults. So thank you. I really appreciate that you're doing that and you took that on. Now I want to ask another question too, because I'm thinking with the listeners, if an individual is interested in getting in the same field concerning the ecosystem of understanding how bugs make a difference, can you share some advice for them?
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually not even an expert, so that's why I couldn't claim to be a scientist or an expert in this. I'm not trained in it. It was just my own interest in bees that started it, because I took a few honey beekeeping courses through a local university and even through the Bee Association. So I took a couple of workshops, weekend workshops. I've always loved bees, actually, since I was a little girl. So it's not, something that's new. So I've always sort of played with bugs as a child, worms and you name it, except spiders. Never ever spiders. It's funny how they just freak me out, but like everything else almost looks like them. I have no idea why. I'm so obsessed with them. But so it's always been an interest of mine. So when I learned that, I can actually keep honeybees, this is really cool. I can, because, why not? So I learned how to do it. So I'm definitely not an expert. When I write, I'm researching. Even with the bees, I had to do my research and just what needs to be in the book and what doesn't need to be in the book. So I kept it very focused on in the swarm that swarmed on pollination, the process of pollination. I didn't get into, what the drones do. And I mean, very briefly, there is a little chart, but it doesn't go into that detail. It's very pollination and why they swarmed, you find out at the end. Even centipedes, just keep the focus. So that was it. So I could only research so much. It is 2,000 words. You can only write so much,
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I'm glad, just letting listeners know that, you just have to dig in and just do the research on the subject that you're interested in. And you even went back, like you said, took some workshop and courses regarding the bees. So thank you for sharing that, because that's good to know if somebody is interested in going and, just kind of having that as a hobby or even as, what they do in life. So thank you for your advice on that. So now I like this question. I always ask all the Queen Diamonds this. What would you call your true, and I know you have a lot, but I just want you to narrow down to one if you can. One of your true superpowers and why?
You know what? I would say my one major superpower is I stay in the background. So if I'm at a party or somewhere, I like to be in the background. I don't like to be the center of attention. So I allow people to be. It seems to be I
didn't want to say it that time. You caught that one. This is funny how it's just flowing. So you it sounds like you'd like to observe a lot more so than kind of just be in out there. And to me that's a gift. That's a good superpower, because then you really get to understand people, as you're around them and see who they are in a sense. And then, because some people, when you do a lot of talking, so I know a friend of mine, she does a lot of talking, and I said, you didn't get anything that anybody understood because you were so busy.
Yeah.
So
that's important, right? Like you just let people, and I've been told I just make people feel comfortable, which is, I think, a nice gift, because my boyfriend actually has a very big family, so we're at a lot of his events, and so it's kind of nice to go to an event and just they feel comfortable me being there and they feel comfortable talking to me. I think that it's an understated power, but I think it's an important power.
It is. And I appreciate that. And like I said, it's good to have that to like I said, the balance again. We all have to have those different type of balances. And I don't know, I just like doing that too. I'm like you, because then I get to really see how people are and how they react and stuff. And then I know how to approach them or have that conversation with them once it happens. So good superpower. Yeah, I like to hear the Queen Diamond superpowers. So any last words you would like to leave the listeners, and then let them know where they can contact you and get your book?
I just think in life, just find balance in everything. So I know we're talking about bugs, but I think it's just important, just in life in general, to find balance. I know we work and we want to do, but balance that off with maybe some downtime with the family, or you just sit in front of the TV and watch a movie and just be in complete silence, and just be with yourself. I think having that really helps to create, I think, just a more simple life,
Mm-hmm.
If someone has to take, I used to work in fitness too. So it's like, it's great to like, oh yeah, I'm going to lift weights, I'm going to do this, but you know what, balance that off, meditate, stretch, be with yourself. So I think that's important just in life general, just learn to be. That's going to be my motto. Learn to be.
I'm telling you, this is working. It's working. It's just going into your brand. So now, how can they contact you? How they can get to you if they want to get your book?
You know what? I've actually they can actually get a free copy, and I'll promote it that way. It's no problem because it benefits me too, and it benefits the library. So through the Toronto library system, and I have it on my website. So I don't do social media. I know it's terrible. I tried it, and it just doesn't work for me. I don't keep up with it. I write. I just don't. I share half the time. I don't ever have my original material. So I just got out of tweeting and all that stuff. But I do have a website, just tillsonbugger.ca, and there they can just look at the details for each book, they can purchase it pretty much anywhere where English books are sold. Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Chapters in Canada. But they can actually just download a free copy. So I have that link. So it's no big deal. I mean, hey, it sends out the message. I'm good with that. So.
Well, I'll be posting your interview and everything, which will be on social media, but you'll get a copy of the link. I'll make sure that they get that link for your website if they want to. Yeah, because you have to be seen. We gotta, you could be the bee. Throw something else in there, but yeah, they basically got to see who you are because you're awesome and amazing. So, lady, thank you. Like I tell people, another Queen Diamond for allowing me to spotlight you today and what you do, and just the awareness that you gave today, and also just keep doing what you do. I wish you much success and in life and in your business. So, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much. It was fun.
Yes. So to those that are listening, thank you for joining us. Another special edition of the Diamond Factor Spotlight interview. As like I said, these are queens. You need to get to know them because they're so important in this life. And you can join the Facebook community under the Diamond Factor Experience. I did change the name, so I have to say that over and over again. Some people have been going to the old one. And if you wish to be spotlighted, please contact me through Messenger, and we can get you set up on a date. And remember, as I always say, you have a diamond in you. You have a diamond factor in you. That is your PPE, your purpose and drive. So important. Just as you heard today, you help not only yourself within your own life, but you help others around you with your gifts and with your talents. So remember that you have that diamond factor in you. And we will see you at the next Diamond Factor Spotlight interview. Again, thank you so much, lady, and you take care.
Bye. Thank you so much, Barbara. Okay, bye.